Well, Corinne Foxx, welcome to the Because of You podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. We've already been yapping.
I know, we've been yapping too much.
Trying to save it for the pod, but we have so much to catch up on. I haven't seen you since October of last year.
That's so crazy. So much has happened since then.
Literally, were you just getting engaged when I saw you last time?
I'd been engaged, but I was definitely starting my wedding planning process. So I was probably talking to you about that, which, I mean, you've talked about how creating a child is very stressful. Wedding planning is also very stressful. And I felt duped.
Yeah.
I felt like people were not honest with me about it.
I'm so pumped to talk to you about it because I felt like I had the same perspective on wedding planning and thought it was going to be this like magical thing. Did you have a planner?
I did have a planner.
Okay, and even with a planner, it's still like crazy.
You have to make all the decisions, and like it just feels like the stakes are so high. It's like this is one day, so every decision feels like it's like, oh my God, if I don't get this right, it's going to be terrible.
No, I absolutely feel that. It is so overwhelming. Like honestly, when you go to weddings, you really should like go up to the bride and be like, thank you. Just say thank you.
I'm just but also I'll realize like she won't even remember seeing me because I saw so many people at my wedding, and luckily my husband was like way more present, but I was like, did we say hi to that person?
No, that's so true.
And he was like, yeah, we did. We said hi to them. We saw them. I was like, thank God. I don't remember anything from the wedding.
It's crazy. Like it's such a blur, isn't it? Because you're kind of in like, I don't know how to compare. It's like being on a red carpet the entire night. Like
yeah, you're just like
where everyone is moving you and there's flashes like everywhere going, and they're like, okay, time to cut the cake, do this. I felt like my head like at our wedding was just on a 360 swivel. I was like, what do I do now? I could not like be as present as I wanted. Maybe that's because like I have ADHD, but it's a lot.
It's a lot. I mean, it was the best day of my life. Like I wish I could relive it over and over again so that I could experience all of it.
Yeah.
But I will say like looking at TikTok, looking at Instagram, it's like watch me plan my wedding with my wedding planning book. And now I'm like, people who DIY their weddings, like you guys are saints.
Seriously.
I couldn't even
warriors.
put together like a little like bridesmaid like basket. I was like, this is too much. Oh my God. You know, so it's a lot. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's why I would just elope. I'm happy I did the big wedding. I'm happy I had everyone I love in the same room. But it comes at a price.
It does. It does.
A financial price and a mental price.
It is all the things, especially if you're the bride. It's just how it is. Like, I just found that AJ just like, it's not that he wasn't involved. It's just like he didn't care about like the finer details. He's like, whatever you want, you know, like... So I'm like, no, help me. Like, what do you want? You know? So I just felt like it was a lot. And I felt like I do have a newfound respect for like elopements and stuff. I'm like, yeah, if I were to get married again for the first time, I would be like, let's do a cute like courthouse photo shoot. Like,
yes,
those are really cute.
They are really cute, and they're way cheaper and they're way less stressful. So I get it. But also at the same time, like I literally had every single person that's like been a part of my life in the same room, and like there's something to be said to have that as well.
It's so special.
It is really special. But like I was very happy that we had it. Also very happy it was over because it also was my entire personality, which was probably so annoying for everybody. It's all I could talk about.
But how do you not? It's just like at the forefront of your mind constantly, and there's so much you have to do to get there. How long did you have to plan your wedding?
We got engaged May 2023, and then we got married September 2024. So like a year and a half. Okay.
Yeah. And see, I thought like I was doing the smart thing by like having a 2-year engagement. I was like, oh, this will help me like not be as stressed. No, it just made me change my mind over and over again.
Oh.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. Like I had too much time to think about things, and then I would get in my head about it. And not that I could like change too many things, but don't give yourself too much time, guys. Like
you're like, you need a deadline at some point. You need something to just like
you do
keep you on track. Did you have a planner, or did you?
I did have a planner, and she's like very hands-on, but I'm kind of type A.
Yeah. Same.
So yeah, I feel like we have the same temperament in that we're like, well, what are you doing over there?
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's weird. I had wedding planners that were kind of type B.
Really?
Like, and I loved them. They were perfect, but like I was getting anxious, and they were like, it's all good. Like, it's handled. I'm like, oh God, like that's giving me more anxiety.
I need someone who's like on my level of just like aggressive, I guess, to to keep me feeling safe. I don't know.
I know, but they were totally right. Everything was handled. They didn't like miss a beat at all. But I'm like, something's wrong with me. I'm the problem.
That's so funny. So now that it's all said and done, like, do you have the, well, it doesn't sound like it, but do you have the post-wedding blues? Like, is there anything you do miss from planning or the anticipation of a wedding?
You know, some of my girlfriends have gotten the post-wedding blues.
Right.
And I think I was anticipating that, but I went straight, like life went so fast right after. Like I went straight into surgery. And so like all this stuff has happened. So I haven't even been able to process that like my wedding's over. Like,
it's just you kind of hit the ground.
Yeah, so just like life's just started lifing. And I'm like,
did you guys go on a honeymoon?
We're going in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. Okay,
Yes.
good. I'm glad that you're getting to do that like pretty soon after. Because I was like, I don't want to wait too long because I know I wouldn't go on a honeymoon. But I think we went the next week, and it was like the best because you're still kind of on the high of having the wedding. We went to Hawaii. Where are you going?
We're going on safari.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to Tanzania and then Zanzibar and then Istanbul because it's just like the stop.
Oh, that is so cool.
So I'm excited. I'm nervous. We can only bring 33 pounds of like luggage. And I'm like, okay, when I go on like a 4-day, this is like 2 weeks.
That's like socks.
And we have to wash our clothes like along the way.
Oh, this is going to be really cool.
Yeah, it's like we're really doing it. So I'm excited.
Oh, you have to tell me about this because I feel like in theory, that sounds incredible, but like I am such a weenie when it comes to nature. And
I am too.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
I don't like bugs. I'm scared of animals.
It's kind of like your first little like marital like bonding experience where
for sure. And my husband, he's so like outdoorsy and like so it's good for him.
Oh, this is where he shines.
Yeah, this is where he shines. And then, he's have to take care of me as well because I'm gonna be scared of every little thing. But I just feel like it's such a big trip that we would never find an excuse to do it again. Like to actually plan it and like all the little stops on the safari.
Yeah,
like,
it's a lot to do something like that.
It's super expensive. All this stuff where we would never be like, let's go to Africa. Like,
yeah. No, that's so cool though. Like the safari part, especially, I hope you get to see a lot of beautiful animals because that was just the craziest thing when I went to Kenya, seeing lions like 5 feet away from me. I was like, wow, that like.
So you did it too. You've been on safari.
I didn't do like the whole camping. Like we were staying in a hotel. Like still had
a different experience.
Amenities. Yeah, it was just like one morning they took us to try to like see some animals on a safari ride and everything. And it was probably my favorite part of the trip. It was like so cool.
Oh my God. Okay, yay. I'm so glad you had a good experience. I'm
you'll
a little
love
nervous, but
you got
I'm excited.
This.
We waited like a couple months after the wedding because it was like, let's just like get through the wedding.
You have a lot going on.
Yeah. And then now we're going to go.
Yeah. So we could definitely like talk about all the things you have going on, but I also wanted to chat about the fun things you're doing career-wise.
Yeah.
Beat Shazam. How fun has that been for you?
It's the best. We are on our 7th season.
7 seasons is wild.
Yeah. And fingers crossed there's, I think, a couple more coming. But if you guys don't know what it is, it's a musical guessing game show. It's on Fox. And it's just like the name. You have to beat the Shazam app. So you have to guess the title of the song quicker than Shazam, which is like 4 or 5 seconds.
Oh, it's so fast.
And in theory, when you're like, oh, I'd be so good at that. But the actual like title of the song, that's what trips people up. Because sometimes you think, oh, it's the lyric, it's this part. And it's like, no, like
so they have to get that right.
The correct song title.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that would mess me up.
Yeah.
Because I can for sure like figure out most songs, but I don't know the name of all of them.
Yeah. What's your genre? Like if you had one genre, you're like, okay, I could do this.
If I was like, I need to win.
Yeah.
Definitely like 90s pop. If that's like a specific category.
Oh yeah, we have 90s, 80s. It's like all genres.
90s pop is where I'm at. Like that was
Britney Spears.
Yes, Christina Aguilera, like all Janet Jackson. Like that was my time to shine. I was like 5 years old, like only child too. So I like fixated on just the music during that time. And to this day, like I won't hear a song for 10 years and I'll be like, yep, know every word still.
Isn't it weird that stays in your brain that long? You're like, why do I still know? I haven't heard this song in like 20 years. Like, how do I know every single word?
And I think it's like, too, when you're really young, you don't have like a whole bunch going on here. So like those really stay locked in. But it's crazy because like, I feel like I'm going to be one of those moms that's like bumping 90s music. Is this like...
You should be.
Yeah. They're going to be very well versed in that. So what's your category?
I would say just like pop in general, or like I feel like I stay pretty current, but then I don't know. Now I'm starting to feel my age a bit, and there's songs I'm like, what is this?
Yeah,
What's
me
going on? I'm
too.
confused. Do you have younger siblings too? So I'm sure they show you stuff.
My
and you're
sister's 17 and I'm like, what are you saying?
yeah, I'm like, I don't speak your language. I'm really confused right now.
Yeah.
So I'd say like hits and pop and stuff, but I feel pretty eclectic. Like I like alternative music. So I'm on the show, I'm the DJ.
Yeah.
And so my dad is the host. He kind of interacts with the contestants, and then I play the music for all the categories. And when I first joined a game show, I don't know, I kind of thought, okay, like game show, kind of a little like gimmicky, maybe a little cheesy, but I didn't realize like these are real people, and they're really winning like life-changing money.
Wow.
And they're vetted, you know, they all have these great stories. They're like teachers and, you know, nurses, and they're playing for their family member, and it's all real. And so I'm like, I cry every single episode for who wins. Like, I get so invested in it, and I'm like, wow, this is like real life, you know? A lot of stuff I do sometimes is scripted, and like it's interesting to be in the unscripted world and have these like really amazing people that win real money.
That's so special, because it really has like so much meaning when you see that you can help change someone's life, and in such a fun way.
Yes, and it's so fun.
Like, how cool is that to be on Beach Shazam and like win some money? Like, how cool. So is it usually cash prizes, or are there other options too?
No, so you can win $1 million if you go all the way through and you beat Shazam at the end.
Oh my gosh.
You can win $1 million. Not everyone wins $1 million. We probably have one a season, maybe one or two a season.
Wow. That's crazy to have like one. That sounds really hard.
Yeah. And then it's like, you know, the confetti goes off. It's all like if they win.
Yeah.
But even they win like $300,000 an episode. I'm
I would
like,
take
hey,
it.
that's a good
That's
payday.
great.
That's a great day at the office.
That's beautiful. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm like, okay, so how do I train for this? Like,
you and AJ should be on there.
no, I would love that. Like, I'm not even joking.
Would AJ be good at it?
Oh, I think so. He is really well versed in like a lot of different genres too. I think he would surprise people. But again, I need to see like where he's at with titles, because I feel like that.
You got to study up.
Yeah, we do. We would have to study that. So, but yeah, I'm gonna fill out an application. So.
Oh my gosh! And my friends want to come on so bad, and I don't think I'm like allowed to push them through. But I was like, hey, if you guys go, if
I was
you guys
gonna say,
get,
is there a conflict of interest there?
I don't know. Well, they're really secretive about the songs. Like, I can't know them until I get on stage. Because they don't want me, like, you know, to tell a contestant in the hallway, like, hey, it's this. Or, so they're like, the standards and practices, I did not realize were so strict on game shows, because it has to be legal.
Well, that's fair, because I'd be the one to like know something and then be humming it in the hallway and like giving it away. But that's so fun. And I love that there's like the father-daughter dynamic. That's one of my favorite parts of watching the show, is that, and if you guys didn't put it together, Jamie Foxx is her dad. So you have obviously someone who is very well known and just so entertaining in general. But y'all's chemistry is so cool to see. And I know you guys do a lot of things together. So what is it like working with your dad?
It's honestly so amazing. And I know there's this whole conversation about nepotism and this whole thing. But at the end of the day, like, it is such a blessing to be able to work with my family. Truly. And we just went through a health scare with my dad last year. And so like, I'm even more grateful that it's like I get to spend so much time with him. Yeah. And I think creatively, because I grew up watching him on set, like, we really understand each other. We have the same work ethic. Like, we go to work. Yeah. Like, I go in hair and makeup. He goes in hair and makeup. We meet and we're like, let's go. Like, it's very professional, but it's also like so comforting too. And he is, I don't know if you've ever been around, he's everywhere. So most people are like, I've met your dad at some point, but he has so much energy. He's like a little kid. He's just so like funny. He's doing jokes. He's singing. He's doing this. Like, even in between setups on the show,
he just keeps the vibes like really high.
He has a piano and he's singing for the crowd, like while they're like in between.
Oh, I love that.
Like, it's a really fun show, and it's fun to do it with him. Yeah. And then we do other stuff together. We produced a show together about our life on Netflix.
Oh my gosh.
Called Dad Stop Embarrassing Me, which was really special.
Yes, I loved.
And so I feel like
you got to write that one, right?
Yeah, I wrote it. And I produced it, and then my dad acted in it, and we casted like a 15-year-old version of me, who's so sweet.
How sweet.
And so I feel like just we're creatively aligned, and like I'll come up with a movie script, he'll come up with an idea, and we kind of bounce off each other. Yeah. And I'm like, why wouldn't we work together?
Yeah. You know? And you, I mean, anyone that has never met Corinne, I'm just gonna say, like, you are literally the sweetest soul ever. I don't think it's even possible. Like, I can't picture you like angry. But
I'm
sure
working on therapy. They're like, you have to get angry, Corinne. I'm like, I can't.
I see, like, I just like can't picture it happening for you. But I was curious, is there ever moments where working with family is overwhelming?
No, I wouldn't say that's the working part. I think just general being like family. Like,
yeah.
And that's never like interrupted our work.
Yeah.
But I feel like just, I mean, me and my dad have went at it before, you know, just like anybody has.
Right.
But no, I feel like we're just so professional. I mean, literally the only thing I can think about is like my dad's probably like half an hour late sometimes.
And you're like, come on now.
And I'm like, I have 2 hours of hair and makeup, okay? Like, why are you late?
Unacceptable, Dad. Like,
but
come
maybe
on.
That's it, which I think is pretty good.
No, that's great. Honestly, like my dad is very like, I think he's met your dad too. He was telling me that when I was talking to him about like what I had going today. But I was like, yeah, Dad, if I had to work with you, it would be bad. Like, it would be really
You're
bad
just different,
news.
like work stuff, like work ethics.
Yeah. And it's, well, that, and I'm kind of like, I'm just a sassy girl with my dad. Like, you know, I love my dad. He's my guy. But I'm also just like, I don't like your ideas.
Like, no, not gonna work.
But you guys, like, it works so well for y'all. And it's very obvious on camera that you have a beautiful harmony and chemistry. And I just love that for you guys.
Oh my gosh, thank you. He's like truly my best friend. I see him all the time. Saw him yesterday. I spent all last week with him. Like,
I love. Tell your dad we said hi.
Hi. Hello. He's the best.
He's awesome. So yeah, then going back to what you mentioned earlier, because you have so much going on and you wouldn't know it, but you just had your surgery for endometriosis, correct? I really wanted to talk about this because I've talked with my girls, my audience, about PMDD.
Yes.
Yeah. So seeing you advocate for endometriosis has been really helpful to kind of learn what you're doing, just to speak up for yourself and just bring awareness, because I felt like a lot of parallels between the PMDD community and endometriosis because there's just not a lot of information.
There's not a lot of information at all.
I didn't know.
You were the first time I ever heard about PMDD.
Really?
And I'm in the women's health like space, you know, like I work with all these organizations and I hadn't heard about it before you started talking about it.
Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know, PMDD stands for premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And a long story short, it's like the week before your period, you kind of have very intense symptoms. Everyone can be a little different. For me, it was psychological warfare. It's like I became a different person. I was like depressed. I almost thought I was like bipolar or something because it was such a drop in my mood and it really felt like the world was ending. I'm like, what is going on? Like, and this would happen once a month. I'm like, there's the suicide ideation is so high with PMDD because if you think about it, it's like 12 times a year, but it can last for up to 2 weeks. So it's almost like half your life where you're like, geez, I have to go through this. So I felt really frustrated in my process of trying to get answers. And
how long did you experience symptoms, like from your first period all the way to?
No, it was like, I found out in my mid-20s maybe. And I realized, I mean, I had to just basically figure it out for myself. I'm going to be honest, because the only solutions that I was being offered was birth control. And that made it worse.
Really?
When I would come off of the pill. So I'm not promoting this at all, but I vowed to never take birth control again because it took me 2 years to basically restabilize after that and get a normal period back on top of that.
Wow.
So I was like, I don't think I have the capacity to ever be on birth control again because the experience was so bad when I came off. But yeah, it's crazy. But for anyone who doesn't know what endometriosis is, can you give like a little brief explanation?
Yeah. So endometriosis is this honestly system-wide disease that where the lining similar to endometrial tissue grows outside of your uterus. So it can grow on, for me, it grew on my bladder. It can grow on your fallopian tubes, your ovaries, your bowels, your liver. Women get collapsed lungs from it.
Collapsed lungs.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I think it has been misrepresented as a reproductive disease, and it's really system wide. But the symptoms are extremely painful periods, like debilitating. I can't go to work. I can't go to school. I have to go to the hospital. And it's pretty common. 1 in 10 women or people with uterus have endometriosis. So it's as common as diabetes.
Wow.
And a lot of people have never heard that word before. And what I found is I have so many girlfriends that I have similar symptoms, like these debilitating periods. And I'm like, maybe it's this. And they're like, oh no, but like all the women in my family have bad periods. And I'm like, endometriosis is hereditary. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because women are told that painful periods are normal. You know, you go to the doctor and it's like, hey, I can't go to work. Well, that's just like what it's going to be. That's just how it is. And that's what I was told for so long. It took me 6 or 7 doctors before I heard the word endometriosis. And my symptoms were all in my bladder. I like just felt like I had to pee all the time. It felt like I had a UTI all the time. And people told me maybe it's bladder cancer, maybe it's this. I got tested for everything. It was a very scary, isolating journey that I had to go on by myself like you and just keep advocating until someone said endometriosis. And so once I got that diagnosis, I was able to get the right surgery. This is my second one I just had 5 weeks ago. And I had a massive endo in my bladder that was like huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what were some of the symptoms that you had that led you to the diagnosis?
Painful periods, like sharp pains, pain with sex, painful urination. These are just all of them. I'm just listing for everyone, but pain with bowel movements. It can really be anything.
Yeah.
And it's so common. And I really stress for women, like if you're having any of these symptoms, like you have to see a doctor. And then if they tell you it's normal, you need a second opinion or a third opinion. Because it can, like had I not gotten the surgery, I could have lost function of my bladder.
What? Wow. Yeah, that's what's really scary is like you can go to so many doctors and it's just like you get the whole spiel about it's normal because I don't know like why it's this way, but we're so conditioned to think like we have to work through pain. Like even in a sense with pregnancy, I'm learning like there's just so much of a push to like work through it.
Yeah.
And there's like it's hard to know, okay, but when is this unsafe?
Yeah.
Because we're pushing this on women to just like fight through whatever. But when is this actually a problem, you know? And that's really tough to like help people understand because there's this whole narrative that we have to just like tough it out. So what would you say is like the line for people if they really need to be persistent with getting answers with their periods not being normal?
I would say it's not being able to go to school, work, or live your life the way that you want to. Yes, for normal woman or person with a uterus, periods are painful, there's cramping, but if you can't show up in the world the way that you want to, something's wrong.
Yeah, it shouldn't be like debilitating.
No, it should not be debilitating at all. And so I work with the Endometriosis Foundation of America, and they always say that that if you're feeling those symptoms, you have to get checked out. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And so in terms of finding solutions, like where are you with your journey right now?
So I'm like kind of pre-family planning right now because endometriosis can cause infertility if it's untreated, and depending on where your lesions are. And so I just had my surgery. Similarly, a big way to treat it is birth control, which I was off of for a year, and then I'm back on it now, which is not my choice, but it's symptom management until I'm ready to like actually try.
Absolutely.
But I feel you. It's like, God, this is my only option. Like,
yeah, it's tough.
It's so tough. And I do feel like down the line in 10, 20 years, we're going to look back and be like, I can't believe women were on this. Like, but anyways, that's not to say it doesn't help a lot of people. So now that I've had the surgery, I'm feeling so much better.
Good.
Yes. A lot of my symptoms went away. They literally reconstructed my bladder.
Wow.
I'm a brand new girl.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But now I'm starting to think about family planning, and I'm like, should I do it sooner than later? Because endometriosis grows back. So just
Oh,
because
so
I had
this
the
is something you
surgery,
would have to like maintain.
yeah.
How often do you know how often you would have to like get
I had
surgery?
my last surgery 6 years ago.
Okay.
So I'm hoping this one lasts me longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's such a
Yeah.
mystery, and of course, like women's health is so under researched,
Mm-hmm.
underfunded, and that's a lot of the work I do with Endometriosis Foundation of America is like getting funding
Yeah.
for women's health, and they did just pass this past year a really big women's health bill, so that's good.
Okay. And what was that?
It didn't just cover endometriosis, but it was financing or funding for research for all women's health. So fibroids too, like my aunt, especially in the Black community, fibroids is disproportionately affects Black women. And so fibroids research, endometriosis, I'm sure PMDD is in there. So, I mean, that's something to look forward to is like, hopefully we'll have more answers.
Yes, that is really what I would love to see. I kind of, in my experience, ended up just going the naturopathic route because I was like, well, if they're just going to keep giving me birth control, I don't know what to do at this point. At one point, they wanted to put me on like literally bipolar medicine because we didn't know what
like a mood stabilizer.
Yeah, and that was like not the answer at all for me. So I've had just like so many wrong turns, but it felt like way too extreme where I'm like, can I supplement this? I don't know. And I have to say, like, it was really a hit or miss experience, like trying to figure it out, even the naturopathic way. But something I have noticed is I don't have flare-ups with PMDD unless I am like really stressed. So I kind of have been able to get it at bay. And that just required me to be kind of a stickler with my lifestyle. And I can't really drink alcohol. It's interesting in the States, like alcohol abroad doesn't make me like feel crazy, but it's kind of like the PMDD and alcohol was like a bad combo for me.
Really?
Yes. It like made me incredibly suicidal. Like every time I would get like really drunk or something, for like a week, it was crazy.
It's a depressant, so it makes sense. Yeah, if like you're already kind of going that way, and then it's like it takes even further.
Yeah, so that's kind of what led me to being like, you know what, I might just be a sober gal.
Hey, my husband's sober, and because he doesn't drink, I don't really drink, and I love it.
Yeah. I mean, once you kind of find out the magic of being sober, it's nice. And then you kind of find people that enjoy it too. But of course, like we'll have drinks here and there. It's just not like it used to be for me. Like I'm not drinking to get drunk. Maybe a little bit of a buzz is like all I'll get. But it is wild, the changes I've had to make to figure it out for myself at least, you know, because I was like, I'm just not getting anywhere with this. And, you know, I would go to doctors and I'd be like, hey, like I have PMDD, like what can we do? And they're like, you have what?
I was going to say, did they even know what it was?
No, the first doctor to diagnose me, obviously she gave me like the context around it. And then after that, it was what would drive me crazy is like they would say PDD or like not even.
You're like, that's not even the right name.
Like, are we even on the same page right now? Like, it's crazy, but I just felt like I was like doing a better job than them at that point.
Yeah. I produced this documentary on endometriosis called Below the Belt. And they've been showing it around to like different colleges, but also they're doing they're going to different medical schools and they're showing it to medical students because they want to do, you know, education for doctors because they're not getting all the information they need to be able to make diagnoses, you know?
Yeah. Do you think, or do you have a guess for maybe why there's such a gap with what should be, in my opinion, basic women's health knowledge with our medical professionals?
I do. I mean, I think women have been ignored for so long. I think like you were saying earlier, like our pain has been dismissed.
Yeah.
And so there hasn't been the research. I don't think there's enough education to even provide to doctors because the research isn't there. And so that's why the funding and getting bills passed and legislation passed is so important because then it's like we have the information to even like give out.
Yeah.
But I think it starts with us talking about what we're experiencing because honestly, like doing this is helping so many people.
Right.
Like whenever I talk about endometriosis, like my comments blow up because people are literally searching like what is going on with me? What is wrong with me?
It's the first time a lot of people can be validated. And, you know, that's what I really love social media for, is like we can see ourselves in these problems and be like, okay, so it's not like I'm not crazy, right? Like this is wild. And when I started talking about my PMDD experience, same thing. Tons of people. And it almost got to a point where like I had to stop talking about it. And this is kind of the first time I'm publicly saying why I slowed down on talking about it, because it was so overwhelming for me. I was getting like people's suicide notes essentially.
Oh, no.
Because I mean, and that's one of the bottom lines with it. So I was like, I can't handle this. Like I would, you know, I have like my email listed for business inquiries and stuff, but like I would open an email and it was like someone's death note. And I'm like, oh, you know, I couldn't be in that position, especially while I was trying to still work through the problems myself. Although I was like really happy to be helping people feel seen, I was like, this comes with a lot.
Totally.
Like, I don't know if I can do that, but any video I've done, like I do have a few videos on YouTube with them. I left them up talking about my experience, and they still like, to this day, I still get new comments, new emails, like people reaching out like, oh my God, thank you for this video. It really, really helps just to have those conversations and talk about it.
Yeah. Is there any organizations that are dedicated to PMDD?
I think that there are. I should know better about like specific ones. But again, I know that it's still like way under researched, way underfunded, like the same problems that you're saying. There's just so many parallels, but it really doesn't seem like PMDD is this like taboo thing these days, since more people have started talking about it. Like I've even found a lot of big creators speaking about PMDD recently and bringing a lot of visibility to it. And you look at the comments and you're like, wait, what? I shouldn't want to like, you know, hurt myself before my period. Like that's not normal. No, that is not normal. And that it's like every single cycle, if you're experiencing that, you might be a candidate for it more than likely.
Yeah. That's it's tough because it's like you share your story, but then you also feel a responsibility to like be able to guide people or give people advice, and like you're still figuring it out yourself. It's like you're like, I don't have all the answers. I also work with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And one thing with them, which I really love, their medical director told me, I was like, I'm not an expert. Like you're the, you know, psychiatrist, you know, mental health. And he was like, no, you're an expert because you've lived it.
You've lived it. Absolutely.
You know? And so in a way we are experts, but also like not experts, like go see an expert.
Yeah.
And so it's tough to balance that. But I think it's really brave of you to talk about. Like it's so important. Yeah.
Yeah. It's way important for me to have those conversations. And I just have kind of had to figure out my own boundaries with it. But what would you say to, I guess, like, for example, I have a 17-year-old sister. How can someone like her educate herself on these different issues and learn what to look for and be aware of as someone who's younger, or even if you're not like 17 years old, but just how can we find out for ourselves?
Yeah. I mean, I have a 17-year-old sister and a 16-year-old sister. So we're in the same boat. And like, I'm always telling them, like, if you have these symptoms, you know, extremely painful periods, you know, pain with urination, bowel movement, sex, any of that, like this runs in our family. I think talking about it within our families is so important because I didn't know my grandmother had it until I got diagnosed.
Really?
And she was like, oh yeah, I had endometriosis. I had surgery at 18 and at 30. And I was like, Grandma, like we didn't want to tell anybody about this. And I get it, it's a different generation, but I think starting to have these conversations, and luckily, like I'm sure our sisters are so more tech savvy than we are. Like there's so much at their hands to like look up what they're feeling. Yeah. And so I would say, like, in women's health, if you're feeling any sort of pain or anything that's making you not show up in the world the way that you want to, like that has to be addressed. Yeah. And you have to be, unfortunately, like really, you have to advocate for yourself. No one is going to advocate for you. Yeah. It's worth finding the right doctor. It took me a hot minute to find an OB. But me being in Texas and like even chancing having a kid, I was like, I need to feel safe. I need to
feel heard, and especially with women's health issues, I was like, I will take the time to figure this out. And that was like really holding up our process with even having a baby, because I was like, I'm not doing anything until I have a doctor that I feel like
really good with,
is in my corner for sure, and like hears me and listens. Because it's, you know, you can have a good doctor, but like I need someone who believes me. Mm-hmm. And there's already that discrepancy as it relates to being a Black woman in healthcare and just the treatment that you get. So it's really important to me to feel heard and listened to. So I agree, like talking within families too is so big. It's like we don't even discuss, like, I mean, at least within my family, I'm the first person to be like, this is what I have going on. Like, these are all the things. Yeah. And I just feel kind of crazy because I think everyone else around me is used to dealing. But me just kind of being observant, I'm like, I'm not the only one that's been really depressed in this family that's a woman. Like, there are signs all in this room, and there's lots of anxiety, like, amongst the women in my family. So, and it's funny, it's not funny, but whatever. I was telling my husband, I was like, I want to put together like this book where I start documenting like the patterns of women in our family and like leave it for generations to come, and like offer solutions if I know them or can find them, like especially for PMDD, because I feel like if anyone ever gets that, like I would really want to be able to help. But I've kind of thought about just making this little scrapbook of like, hey, here's what we got going on in our neck of the woods.
This is our, these are our genes. This is what's going on.
Yeah.
Don't be alarmed. Like, we've been through this before.
Yeah, totally. And like my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer last year. So even just like being able to say, hey, these are the things you need to do preventatively, and these are the things you need to look out for, like, you know, get tested for the BRCA1 gene. Like, I didn't know any of that stuff until my mom's diagnosis. So I was kind of like, oh, like, you know, I wonder, could we have done more before my mom's diagnosis? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's just stuff I want to have. I have all these thoughts that I'm like, I wish I could tell all the women in our family now, like, this is what to look out for. But I agree with you.
Yeah, no, and I'm so sorry about your mom.
Thank you. She's doing great.
Good. Okay, so, good. I'm glad.
Yeah, she's recovering, and she's going through kind of the latter part with radiation, which everything about cancer treatment is so intense on the people who have to go through it. But she's been a trooper.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I know what it's like to have a sick parent, and it's your whole world like changes.
It really changes the dynamic of everything, but you know, you get through it day by day for sure. For sure. So what do you have going on now that you're like post wedding and post surgery? I know the honeymoon's coming up. Like, what projects do you have coming out? What can we look for?
Yeah. Well, beat Shazam. You can stream it on Hulu if you want.
Perfect.
And practice. You should be practicing for next season.
Yeah. Like, you might see
we're casting.
If I like pop up on the show, I'm not even going to tell you. I'm going to surprise you.
Like, I've never seen that girl in my life. So we have that. Honestly, over the pandemic and then we had a SAG strike, because I'm also an actor, and I started writing. And so I have a TV pilot that I sold to a studio, and I have a feature film that I just sold to a production company.
Congrats!
So hopefully in the next year or so, I have a couple things that you'll be able to actually watch.
Oh, this is so exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. And it's scary because it's like I'm transitioning my career, trying something I never thought I'd be doing.
Yeah.
But it's exciting at the same time.
So what's new about this that's like that you haven't done before?
Well, I've done a lot of like in front of the camera stuff. So like hosting and acting. And I've done some behind the camera with producing, and I've written a TV show, but this is different. This is like I'm creating it by myself. And one of the shows is like a sci-fi, like AI TV show, and the other one is like a completely different buddy comedy thing. And so it's just, I don't know, I feel like I'm stepping into like my Shonda Rhimes.
I love, oh my goodness, this new era for you is going to be so cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun. But also I'm on like TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff.
Yes. Where can people find you on those
Corinne
platforms?
Foxx. Foxx.
Corinne Foxx, you guys. You heard it here first. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For coming on here.
I'm so excited for you.
Congratulations to you too.
Thank you.
I can equally say the same. You have so many cool things happening, and I love watching everything you do. Like, I really, really do.
Oh my God, I love you.
Yeah, no, but thank you for coming. I appreciate you.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
We love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.